Middle East Report with James Dorsey on Sabahul Muslim.
James, good morning. I trust that you are well.
Everything's fine. Good morning. I trust all is well with you. It's great to be with you.
So, Iran upgrades Saudi Arabia as a threat to its republic.
Indeed. Iran traditionally viewed Saudi Arabia simply as a pawn of the United States and as a political rival. But more recently, it is starting to view the kingdom as a security threat in its own right. Now, the reasons for that are, first of all, Saudi Arabia sponsors a satellite television station in Iran International that until last month operated out of London and is now moving to the United States. And that television station has had significant influence and impact on anti-government protesters in Iran over the last several months, particularly because it broadcasts news that official media in Iran do not. But over and beyond that, Saudi Arabia has, of course, enormous economic muscle and financial muscle, and therefore it has the ability to lobby in Western capitals in ways that Iran cannot and influence policy. And finally, add to that the Saudis have made clear to the United States that they would potentially establish diplomatic relations with Israel, but that would have to be in exchange for a formal security agreement with the United States that Iran clearly would see as targeting it.
Now, Saudi-UAE rivalry has also become increasingly public.
Indeed. Saudi Arabia has been taking on the UAE in various ways in recent years. By forcing corporations that want to do business in Saudi Arabia, particularly with the Saudi government, to move their headquarters from Dubai to Saudi Arabia. It has limited the access of goods to Saudi Arabia from economic free zones in the UAE. And you've seen these differences and rivalries or competition, if you want, also with regard to policy in Yemen, become much more public. So recently the UAE convened a summit of Arab state leaders to which the Saudis were not invited. Similarly, the UAE did not attend the summit of the Gulf leaders or only in a very minor fashion, the summit of Gulf leaders with Chinese President Xi Jinping when he was visiting recently the Gulf. So these tensions are emerging. You're seeing it also related to the whole issue of Iran's security perceptions in the UAE, in contrast to the Saudis hedging their bets by, for example, this week concluding a memorandum of understanding with Iran on cooperation in aviation.
Now, Saudi's human rights record threatens the kingdom's sports ambitions.
Indeed. So Saudi Arabia has been all over the map in terms of wanting to become a sports superpower, if you wish, acquiring hosting rights, sponsorship, acquisitions. You now have the situation where you have a upcoming FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, in which FIFA initially accepted Visit Saudi, which is essentially the Saudi initiative to boost tourism to the kingdom, to be a sponsor of the Women's World Cup. And on the one hand, of course, Saudi Arabia has enhanced women's rights, lifting the ban on driving, loosening gender segregation, enhancing professional and social opportunities for women. But on the other hand, if you look at the new personal status law that has just come into effect a few months ago, it enhances or it cements the role of the male guardianship And so there is great opposition because of Saudi Arabia's human rights record by the Australian Football Federation, by athletes, by fans, to Saudi being a sponsor of the FIFA World Cup. And the indications are that FIFA is going to back out of that agreement with Visit Saudi. And that would be a significant setback for the kingdom.
And then finally, tell us about the Saudi personal status law.
Indeed, it's what I just mentioned. So women now can travel without a male guardian, but the law, basically, in terms of the choice of a woman for marriage, that has to be endorsed by her male guardian. Divorce for men remains relatively easy. For women, it's very difficult. Inheritance rights, with other words, women getting less than men, as anchored in classical Islamic law, is enhanced in this personal status law. And so what that really means is that women's rights in Saudi Arabia is not about women's rights. It's about doing what is needed in order to facilitate economic diversification and mainstreaming of the streamlining the Saudi economy. It's not about giving women equal rights to men.
All right, James, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, as always.
Listeners can check out James's articles on his website, www.jamesmdorsey.net. 3 minutes to 8.